So in preparation for doing this drawing here, we had to learn a few things. So the first thing and the major thing was that we had to learn how to make a square in perspective. But that was really cool because then once we had the square in perspective, we could make a repeating sort of checkerboard pattern. Cool. We could make a cube, and then with that cube, we could use it as a unit of measurement and make very precise architectural things. We could take a square, and with the square, we could make a circle. In fact, we learned how to make a circle within a circle, and we even learned how to make a cylinder. Now, this drawing here is kind of cool because normally you guys just see the finished product, but actually, I usually work these things out ahead of time on a piece of scratch paper and work through a few ideas. So like here, you could see me working out the basic parameters of what we were going to do, and things changed a little bit. Like for instance, here was one of the first things I was going to do. And for instance, in this one, it has benches. And the benches, I was going to show you that. The way that we found the distances for these guys right here? Same thing with the benches is that I could figure like, one size for the bench, draw it through, and find all the sizes for subsequent benches in perspective. Okay, but I thought we had already learned kind of a lot in this lesson, so, we didn't need one more thing. Okay, so anyways, what I figure I'll do now is I'll sort of run through how I laid this drawing out. Remember, you don't have to make a drawing that's exactly like mine. If you make a square, if you make a checkerboard pattern, if you use a cube to make an architectural thing, if you make a cylinder and another circle within a circle to make some sort of an whatever it is, then that is all fine. That's okay. Absolutely. And so anyways, let's go. Let's just do it. So I've got a little board here and a little piece of paper here. And so I've already got this a little bit worked out, but here. So one of the first things was that we had kind of a high horizon line. Now I want to get things straight in this drawing, so I'm going to do a lot of measuring. So here is how I have the vanishing point. That's how high it's going to be. So I'll measure over from the edge of the paper here and here. And you can see that by doing that, I can get my horizon line nice and straight. And that's going to be kind of more important in this one than in others because remember with the square, I'm going to be going over to this edge quite a lot, right to the edge of your field of vision, right? Okay. So I figured for the purposes of this drawing that I would just make my squares go all the way to the corner of the page. So if you were copying me more or less exactly, it'd be kind of, easy and to do. So we go all the way back here. And you know what? I'm going to draw dark so that you can see it well. But of course, when I was drawing this one out, I drew very light at first so that, I could make mistakes and they would be okay. Okay. Alrighty. Not to mention the fact that, yes, I worked everything out ahead of time. Okay. So let's say I'm going to go ahead and start pulling everything back to the vanishing point. And remember this as well. You don't necessarily have to make your lines go all the way back to the vanishing point if you don't need to. Okay, and so then I figured, I just divided this into quarters, nice and easy. There we go. Back to here. To here. And to here. And it's, nothing magical about making it into quarters. I just did that for you guys so that everything would be very regular, so kind of very easy. And then now here, check this out. So with perspective, the further you are from the vanishing point, the more distorted it's going to be, right? So what I figured is that I'd make my first row of squares incomplete. In other words, you wouldn't see the bottom edge of the squares, right? So your eye would just have to kind of guess where they would at, which would be cool. So this first line that I'm going to do is totally arbitrary. So I think, let's see, maybe up, oh, about the size to my first knuckle or something like that, right? And so I want to make things pretty precise on this one. More precise than I usually would worry about doing. Okay, so I've got those things marked, and I'm going to draw this across. There it is. Okay. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that just fine. So we've got our first row. Okay, well, so now I want to start making squares. So, I would just draw all the way back to here, right? So, okay, we're going to just go here. But you know what? Instead of drawing all the way back to here, I'm just going to have to erase things anyways. I'm only going to go part of the way, because I'm just going to end up erasing that anyways. Okay, so now check this out. So what I could do is each one of these is where my next square is. I think I'm just about there to being able to complete my grid all the way to the top. So once again, if I wanted to be nice and precise with my lines, what I would do is I'd find this point right here, and I would measure, right? Because I know it's going to be straight across, and so if I want a straight line, then I'll measure. If I really want something to be straight, I will measure, right? Remember I said I tend to be a little bit too technical sometimes, and so sometimes I do stuff just to make myself a little bit freer. But look, when I want to be technical, we're going to be technical. Okay, I'm going to extend that a little bit beyond where it is. Okay, good enough. All right, so that's our next row of squares. And of course, this would be our next one right here. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and measure that so I get it nice and straight. And it's cool too because you can do very organic drawings, right? Very naturalistic things, but just have them look a little bit more, well, right? If you use perspective. They don't have to look totally mechanical. Your perspective can just be a real guide for, let's say, height on things. Okay. So there we go. There's my next row right there and there. Okay, and I can get one more out of this line. So it's right there. So there. All right. And here. Okay. Now I need a few more to bring it all the way up to where I've got for the back wall for Luigi's. I need a few more. So what do I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? Something like that. So what do I got so far? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I just need to divide that one more time. So I can do that. Look, all I have to do is bump up one, and that'll do it for me. Right? Because if I go here, that gives me this one right here. And once again, I wouldn't always be so technical and precise. It's just that, a lot of things are going to kind of count on this being right. And so I want it to look good. And let's do even one more. So I would line it up right to there. That'd be my next one, right? I don't have to draw a line all the way through, right? I know. If I just go to here, that's where it's going to be. And there it is. There it is. And there. And that'll be our last one, because we'll just put the back wall there. Okay. Now, by laying out this grid like I did, I actually was kind of making a good little cheat for doing the fountain, right? Because I can say like, well, these are all squares. And so let's say if I took 4 of them, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then that's the square I can use to make my fountain. So that means I got a lot of erasing to do. So once again, boy, would I just not do these really strong lines if I was actually doing a drawing for realsies, right? There's no way, no way. Because it would be so hard to erase them really thoroughly. We'll just do this so everybody can see a little bit better. Okay, I don't need that. And I don't need these, really. And if I do need them, since I can't erase them that well, I guess I'll see them. Okay, so let's get rid of those. You know what else we're really not going to need? Are these ones right here. Let's get rid of them as well. Okay, cool. So here is my square. And so with that square, as you know, what I can do is I need to find the measured center. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw this down, and if I was being so persnickety and precise, I could measure this. I could say like, oh, okay, this is how far this is, and I could go here and get it just right. But I think, we're close enough. We don't have to keep measuring everything. Another way of keeping your stuff straight is if you keep your paper straight, straight with the edge of the board that you're working with or whatever. If you keep everything straight, then it's much easier for your brain to find, well, straightness. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to guess that that's about the middle. Let's see if I'm anywhere close. Okay. Oh my goodness, was I off? So that's why you cannot trust, right? So somewhere in between there is the middle. So let's see, let's try that again. This time I'll make my mark a little bit differently so I don't get confused with that one. So is that better? Oh yeah, that's much better, isn't it? So that's why it's so important to measure if you want things to be precise. Okay, so there you go, we got that. And we could draw this over. There we go. Okay. So hopefully you can see that. We've got, our square here. This is our square here. Okay. Good enough, right? And so we've got this line right here. So I'm going to go just right to here. And here. And then, what I can do, I can just go ahead and nip those off. So if I had about halfway there, and about halfway here, here, and about halfway here, and about there, right? Then I could just go ahead and nip those off. And as you can see, I'm starting to get my oval. Now, I know that's pretty liney, but I'm going to keep all that for just a little bit longer while I make the rest of it. Hopefully it's not too confusing. So, the next thing I've got to do is I've got to go up and make a cylinder out of this if I want to make that fountain. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'll make this, let's say this tall. Okay, that was totally arbitrary. Whatever the height's going to be, that is absolutely arbitrary. But, you know, I've already got the line right here, and that's how lazy I am. I'll just use that line. Okay, and so I'm going to go on back to here. You know I don't have to go all the way back to the very end, do I? Or do I? Let me see, actually, as I look at this, I'm going to have to go at least past this corner, so I got to take this one just a little bit further. Okay, alrighty, and so then here is the corner of the square, so I'm just going to go up from there, from here. Okay, and so I've got my second square. Let me make that a little bit stronger so you can really see it. So here, and all the way up to here. And you can see how everything is really lining up very well. Okay, and so if this is the second square, what I've got to do is I've got to measure this one, and I'm going to guess that it's right about there. So I'll make another mark on my ruler here. Oh, I was not even close once again. Boy, I'm bad at guessing. And I'm the teacher, so imagine, right? Imagine. And that's why I measure instead of just guessing, especially for easy stuff like this. Okay, so if that's the halfway point, let's just mark it off. Okay, and so I can just draw this back to here and to here. Okay, now you know all these points, one of the reasons why I didn't get rid of those is that I can just reuse those. Because look, if it's right, everything should be lining up, right? So here, and I could just say like, okay, right here, okay, right here, and right here, and right here, and we've got a point here, and let's see, yep, right here, and here, and here. Okay, everything lines up. Okay, and so what would I do? I would go ahead and connect those. Okay, now if you didn't watch the other tutorials before this, this is probably looking really damn confusing, right? But if you have, then hopefully you're seeing that this is a cylinder right here. And I will get rid of a bunch of the extra stuff that we don't need, and that's going to make it a lot more apparent. Okay. And to make ovals out of those, all I've got to do is just smooth them out a little bit. Okay, and we'll just smooth this one out a little bit as well. And well, I'm telling you, I hope you drew light. I know I keep saying that over and over, but really, your life is going to be so much nicer than mine is right now if you've drawn light. And so you can see we've got the checkerboards laid out for the floor, and we've got the fountain started. Let's do the inner one now. So the measured, or excuse me, the perspective center is right here, right? I can still see my line left over from before. So I can just arbitrarily say like, okay, I'm going to run a line through that and say that I'm going to do this about equal distance, right? I could measure that, but I'm getting tired of measuring things. So then running this back to here, we'll see that, oops, come on, baby. where this lines up is, of course, where the square is, right? So here's the center. That's that axis that came here. Whoosh. And since this is in the center, it's going to have that exact same axis. So I just sort of arbitrarily said, like, okay, this is how fat it's going to be, and that's where it's going back to. And where those things meet, I know that is where this back one is. Of course, that's just back to the vanishing point. Okay, so that's my square, you know, and so then I just got to go and draw my little circle stuff, right, you know, and maybe even right like that, you know, just nipping those off and just kind of guesstimating. And you can see that that's where I've got my, there we go, good enough. My inner one. And, you know, from there, I'm just going to bring it up and probably, you know what I'm going to do? I could figure out this square right here just by making it into a cube. And I'm feeling like getting lazy, but oh no, I guess I should. So, you know, I'll just make another, see, another square. I'll just make it even with this one. Just even with this one right here. And of course the sides are going to go back, right? Everything the same. Okay, and of course I'm going to, here, I could just bring these up. I was going to say I could just pull this back, but you'll see, look, if I've done everything right, this is where the back of my square should be. You see, because here's the back of my square here on the bottom. If I go straight up, that's where it should be. Let's check. And so we're going to line up this with the edge to this corner right here, and look at that, bingo! It's right there, right where I thought it should be. Okay, so that's where my square is. This time I am going to just fake it in because you guys don't want me to do the same thing over and over and over again, do you? Maybe. Maybe I should. I think the ovals I've been making have been better than this one. Anyways, and so that's how I would get my top little bowl. Maybe something like this, you know, something like this, you know, just whatevers. And so that's how I'm going to get sort of that inner bowl shape. Of course, I did it a lot more carefully than, you know, when I was doing my own one. But you guys, you know, don't want me to sit here and do this forever and ever, do you? Okay. So there's that. And so then the next thing would be this guy on the side, right? So, but this is getting to be a long video already, so I'll go ahead and continue this in the next one.